So where do we start? We've got sleeves, we've got bodices, skirts. There's multiple ways you can approach this situation. You could sew the underarms together on the bodices so that these are all in a circle, and then you can sew these in a circle, then do the waist. Personally, I find it easier not to have to work inside of that circle, so I prefer to go ahead and sew my waist together. Now, you'll notice these lines converge from each other, but because it's knit, that's not a real big issue. We're just gonna take, and I'm gonna turn this so it's convenient for me, sorry. But you'll line up the one side, and I pin over here. The reason I do that is because then you can leave those pins in place and drive right by with your sewing machine, your serger. It isn't going to matter. What's important is that these two raw edges are next to each other. You don't want to have the top one, like right now, I might think I'm in line, but look at, I'm not. This is not going to be good. So we just have to keep moving that down, making sure we're lined up. Pin it. And you really need about, whatever that is, 3/4 of an inch for your sewing machine foot to be able to travel by. Now look, I didn't take time to get these two lined up. So that means a little stretching needs to happen in here. I'm going to end up having to unpin and repin over there. So let me come all the way over here. And I need this to line up about here. We're only putting in a 1/4 inch seam. Now, if you are more comfortable with a 1/2 inch, all of this will go together using 1/2 inch seams everywhere just as easily as a 1/4 inch, but I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam. All right, so now what I'm going to do, instead of the method I was starting out with, I'm going to find the center. So center bodice has a crease and the center skirt had a crease. I've got that lined up. Pin it. Now I know I need to stretch this fabric. So just a word of warning while I'm doing this pinning. When you put this on your sewing machine, one of the things I've noticed people have a tendency to do when they're trying to stretch the top, see how I've got this bubble here? More white fabric than purple. When they're stretching, they don't stop stretching at the right place. So this would be enough of a stretch right now. See how they're fitting. What I'll see people doing is this. So we're stretching the purple and the white. And you'll know you've done this if when you get done, this is all ruffly. It's just been overstretched. So avoid that temptation. If you've got good pinning work done, like once I get these pins in, I actually don't need to do the stretching work. It will have, the purple will have relaxed and more or less stuck itself to that skirt piece. So that's pinned together, ready to go. And because these seams are similar in nature, I'm going to go ahead and pin up the back. So let's just start out by matching the centers. Save ourselves a little trouble. Pin that. Pin one side. Again, I've got them nice and far from that raw edge. I'm going to bend this over. And I do need to curve it so that it's lining up like it should. See how these are lining up really nicely with each other? That'll help. All right. Because we're having to get those two curves that are not the same to go together. So now I'm anchoring it with my little finger over here on the right, your left. And I'm using the tip of the pin to help me a little bit. All right, I've got it stretched. Put that pin in. Anchor it with my little finger. Make sure my edges are together. Pin. Now when it lays down, see how nice and flat? It didn't look like it was going to be that nice when I started out, but it does settle down. Same procedure. Stretching it. I'm using my fingers underneath to kind of get rid of any bubbles. Put my pin in. Okay, so now we're going to be able to just sit down at the sewing machine and we can go straight across. You can use a sewing machine with a small zigzag or a stretch stitch that goes forward, backward, forward, or put it on your serger.